Welcome to Coach How Could I with Mr. Aalok Gupta. With 30 years of leading and coaching in the corporate world, Aalok leverages his extensive HR and business experience in order to solve business problems with people's solutions. Coach, how could I structure pricing and payment plans to maximize conversion on my high value offerings without pricing out potential buyers?
Yeah, so that's a kind of a very important aspect because pricing out buyers, or I normally use the word kind of putting yourself outside the market if you kind of price too high. So there's a big problem if you price yourself too high. They may not even reach out to you. But then at the same time, even pricing yourself too low may make them think maybe you're low quality. So it's kind of a little bit of a dichotomy over here where to price. Now, when it comes to high value items, there are two pricing strategies. Number one, you can have a standard price, and that's normally what we call a product strategies. You take it or leave it. This is the price. We're not going to budge up and down. And some people who advertise on the website. So, for example, if you look at things like some coaching programs, they have a standard price which is advertised, right? Netflix follows a standard pricing strategy, and that's nothing wrong with it. This is what it is. This is the price. But then, if you're getting into things like where consulting comes, right, where your pricing can be variable depending on the inputs and the effort you're putting, there two rules apply. Now, if you think about any deal in the world, any purchase in the world, there are essentially only two factors involved. And this is going to be very surprising because let's take an example of taking a home mortgage. And I'm sure a lot of us have taken home mortgage. Now, the bank will take maybe 100 papers from you, have 1,000 formulas over there, but they're only checking two things. What two things? Your intention to pay and your ability to pay. So let's go a little bit deeper. So how do they check ability? When they check your salary, they check your ability to pay the EMI every month. So that's how they kind of check ability. Let's take an example of intention. When they check your credit history, they check your character record of the intention to pay. So essentially, they are only checking two things. Now, let's come back to actual negotiation with a corporate, with an enterprise. So let's say you're kind of negotiating a deal with Microsoft. Now you're talking to the procurement manager. Now, clearly, he puts a certain number to the amount he wants to pay on you. Now, there are obviously a lot of ways to kind of find that number. It could be market intelligence, it could be other suppliers, whatever that is. This is what we call the value they put on that product. So when it comes to enterprise, the ability does not mean the ability to pay you. It is the value they put it. So that is the intention of the client to pay. Now, the words we use in corporates is the value, which is the intention, and the second word is the budget. So they always have a budget. There's always a business case. And these are the two things you're kind of playing with when you're structuring the conversation. So let's take a very simple example. So if you are selling, let's say, a digital marketing contract to a client, and you kind of position yourself at a level which is higher than others, maybe the client puts a higher value to paying your fee. So let's say, they put a value of 500,000 to paying your deal. But then in order to differentiate and show some more things which you can add, that value from 500,000 can even go to 1 million. So let's say you kind of throw in some expertise, you throw in some more consulting into it, you can get a value of that. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation, which is the second factor of the budget they have. Now, in terms of the budget, maybe their budget was 500,000, but if they see more value, they can stretch it. They can go and take an exceptional approval. And in most cases, I managed to increase the value by demonstrating it physically, what benefits they're going to get, and also trying to talk about examples on what benefits they're going to get, success stories, case studies. And when you kind of give all of that value to them, then they may stretch their budget. So to summarize, Obviously, there are multiple ways to price and structure, but these are the two things, these factors at play no matter what purchasing decisions you do. Whether you're taking a home mortgage or you're doing a high value transaction, you have to constantly evaluate the value the client is putting on your service and the budget they have to pay to you. So, with this thing in mind, you can always max out, or the polite word would be optimize in terms of getting the best value for your deal.
Wonderful. And considering what we also spoke about earlier about actively listening, what's
Mm.
going on in the other direction, would we say it also, we could also keep adding value when we get a negative right in the same conversation, or should we wait to give
Yeah,
them more information?
that's a very good observation, Carlos. So essentially, I would say, let me kind of redefine your question.
Yeah.
What is value? Now, if you think in a very simple term, value is a very psychological thing, right? So, for example, there are people which hate a Rolex
Sorry.
and they would put no value on it, right? They're like, that's a company just kind of taking our egos to a high level. They put no value to it, right? So for them, the value of Rolex is nothing. And I know a lot of people like Bill Gates, for example, he wears a Casio. So he does not value Rolex at all, no value at all. But then you would have other bunch of people which kind of value Rolex, and that's why it's such a big company,
Yeah.
because they think it's worth that $100,000 is valued at, right? So again, you always have those two people. So value is a very psychological game, and you need to start reading between the lines. So if your question, will he see value in addressing his pain area? Absolutely, that is your cue that he sees value. But if he's rejecting your points, now he doesn't see in value. So active listening and addressing their pain point will actually increase the value. Great observation, Carlos.
Thank you, Coach.